Daniel Reed had always been a devoted father. Ever since his wife passed away 2 years ago, he had poured every bit of his love, strength, and time into raising his 10-year-old daughter Mia. She was his whole world, his reason to wake up, to work, to keep going. But for the past few weeks, something about Mia had changed. She had become quieter, withdrawn, and unusually nervous in the mornings. The once bright, cheerful girl who used to chatter endlessly during breakfast now pushed her food around silently. Every day before school, she would cling to his arm just a little longer. "Dad, do you have to go to work today?" she asked that morning, voice trembling in a way Daniel didn't understand. He knelt down, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Of course I do, sweetheart, but I'll be home by the time you're back, promise." Mia nodded, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Daniel watched her walk into school, his heart tightening. Something was wrong, he could feel it. All morning, her pale face haunted him. He tried to focus on his business meeting, but his mind kept drifting. Every what-if gnawed at him. Was she sick? Was someone bothering her? Was she being bullied? Finally, he pushed aside his laptop and stood up abruptly. "I need to step out," he told his assistant, not waiting for a reply. By the time he reached the school, the lunchtime bell had just rung. Children poured out of their classrooms, laughing, chatting, forming lines for the cafeteria. Daniel scanned the crowd, searching for Mia's tiny frame. Then he saw her. She was sitting alone under a tree at the far end of the playground, her knees pulled up to her chest. She wasn't eating. Her lunchbox was closed beside her, untouched. Her head was bowed, shoulders shaking, like she was trying not to cry. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. He took a step toward her, but then froze. A group of girls approached her, 3 of them the same age as Mia. Their expressions were smug, cruel. The tallest girl snatched Mia's lunchbox and opened it. The others laughed as they dumped the food onto the ground. Mia whispered, "Please, stop." Daniel's breath caught, his hands curled into fists. In that moment, he realized something with chilling clarity. His daughter had been suffering in silence, and he had walked straight into the middle of it. Daniel stood frozen, hidden behind a row of bushes near the playground. His jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. Every instinct in him screamed to run over, to shield Mia, to make those girls regret ever touching his child. But he forced himself to watch just a little longer. He needed to understand how long this had been happening. Mia knelt on the ground, her tiny hands trembling as she tried to gather the food the girls had tossed. The mashed fruit mixed into the dirt, her sandwich squashed under one of the girls' shoes. "Oh, look at her," the tallest girl mocked. "Picking food from the ground like a stray dog." The others giggled. Mia's voice was barely a whisper. I didn't do anything to you." "Oh, please," another girl sneered. "You think you're better than us because teachers like you? You're such a teacher's pet." "That's why nobody wants to sit with you," the third one added. "Everyone thinks you're weird." Each word struck Mia like a blow. Daniel felt fire surge through his veins. His sweet Mia, who wouldn't hurt a fly, was being crushed by words designed to break her spirit. He had noticed her sadness, but he never imagined this. Then the cruelest moment happened. One girl took Mia's backpack and shook it upside down. Books, pencils, drawings, everything scattered across the grass. A small handmade card fell out, the one Mia had been making for him. It had little hearts and the words, "For Dad, because he's my hero." The girl picked it up and smirked. "This? Seriously?" She ripped it in half. Mia finally broke down, covering her face as tears spilled onto her knees. Daniel couldn't hold back anymore. He stepped out from behind the bushes, anger radiating from him. "Hey!" The girls froze instantly. Their smugness vanished when they saw the tall man marching toward them, eyes blazing. Mia looked up, shocked. Daniel reached her in seconds, kneeling and gently wiping her cheeks. "Sweetheart," he whispered, "why didn't you tell me?" She sobbed into his chest. "I didn't want you to worry. You already do so much." The father's heart shattered. Then he stood, turning to the girls who now trembled under his gaze. "Where is your teacher?" he asked, voice low and dangerously calm. The girls exchanged panicked looks, because Daniel Reed was no ordinary father. He was a man who would burn the world down to protect his daughter. When Daniel finally reached the school's main corridor, he was still shaken by the cafeteria incident. His daughter Emma had been hiding the truth from him for weeks. maybe months. He stepped outside, letting the cold afternoon air cool his thoughts. He needed answers, and he needed them now. The bell rang, and children began to pour out of classrooms, laughing and chatting. Daniel waited near the hallway until Emma appeared, clutching her worn-out backpack against her chest. Her eyes widened the moment she spotted him, fear flickering across her face. "Daddy, what are you doing here?" she whispered, almost as if she hoped he wasn't really standing there. Daniel knelt down so he was eye level with her. "Emma, sweetheart, why didn't you tell me you didn't have lunch?" His voice was gentle, but it trembled with worry. Emma's chin quivered. She looked down, twisting her fingers nervously. "I didn't want to bother you," she murmured. "You're already working so hard, and sometimes we don't have enough food at home. I thought, maybe if I pretended to eat, you wouldn't worry." Daniel felt like someone had driven a knife through his chest. He hugged her tightly, forcing himself not to cry. "Emma, you never bother me. You're the reason I work hard. You should always tell me when something is wrong." She nodded weakly, finally letting tears fall. "The teacher scolded me. The other kids laughed because I had nothing in my lunchbox." Daniel's expression hardened, not with anger at Emma, but anger at himself for not noticing sooner. "Come with me," he said firmly. He took her hand and led her straight to Principal Harris's office. The principal looked up, startled to see Daniel standing there with such intensity in his eyes. "Mr. Cole, is everything all right?" "No," Daniel said plainly. "My daughter has been sitting alone at lunch, hiding an empty lunchbox. Not one adult noticed. Not one person asked why a child had no food." The principal swallowed nervously. I wasn't aware." "That's the problem," Daniel replied sharply. "But this ends today." He looked at Emma, then back at the principal. "I will personally make sure she never has to hide hunger again." Little did he know this confrontation would spark a chain of events that changed not only Emma's life, but the entire school's.